this call is recorded and is posted to social media for educational and promotional purposes. In the chat, I will put it there again. There's a document, a link to a document where you can put your name, location, organization, contact information. Also, use the document for taking notes about the meeting. And you can use this page to obviously harvest ideas for the Empathy Circle brainstorming. And we welcome your insights. I'm Bill Filler. I'm a member of the Empathy Tent team dedicated to building a culture of empathy. I'm living in the San Francisco Bay Area and been working with Edwin for about 2 years. I'd like to welcome you to the Empathy Cafe today for mutual support during the COVID-19 pandemic. Our intention on this cafe is to give participants a tool to create a culture of empathy. And what we mean by that is that each person feels that they can authentically and openly express themselves as they wish and feel heard and understood to their satisfaction. As well as experiencing being heard is just as important to provide that experience for others, and we call this mutuality. We believe that the Empathy Circle is a very effective tool that all can use to build a culture of empathy. Today, we're going to go for about 2 hours. We'll have some participant intros. We'll do a how-to Empathy Circle for those who might be new. And then we'll get into, we'll review the topic. And basically, it's going to be about the COVID-19, or as always, whatever happens to be moving you at this time. If there's something else that's going on and you want to go there, we'll go there with you. Then we'll have a short 1-minute intent meditation, and then we'll move to our breakout circles, and then we'll come back for a full group and a kind of debrief. So I'll start with participant intros right now. So if you can give me your name, organization, if any, and city or country you're calling from. And I'll just go around. I've kind of modeled it myself. Bob, could you start us off, please?
I'm Bob Brown from Thousand Oaks, California, USA, affiliated with XRUS.
Great. Thanks, Bob. Dr. Markfield?
Sure. I'm Yaron Markfeld from Long Island, New York. I'm affiliated with the Brookdale Hospital System. I'm the Associate Program Director of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry.
Great, thanks and welcome. Dr. Carlson?
Hi, my name's Stefan, and I'm very thankful to be here today. I'm very thankful for Edwin and Bill and Bob and Carolina and Marta. I haven't met Ofi, and also thankful to Divya. Thank you, Yaron, for being here. And I'm from Brooklyn, so thank you guys.
Great, welcome. Great to have you. Carolina, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Carolina. You can call me simply Caro. I am in Poland, in the harbor city of Gdańsk, in Poland, north of Poland. And I am a member of Extinction Rebellion movement and Empathy Circle team.
Great, thank you very much. Marta?
Hello, I'm Marta, based in Cork in the south of Ireland, part of Extinction Rebellion here and the Empathy team as well.
Great, welcome. Divya?
Hi, I'm Divya. I currently live in Brooklyn, New York. I am also part of the Brookdale team. I'm going to be an intern psychiatrist at Brookdale Hospital, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. We're happy to have you as well. And I know Aoife, is that, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing your name. Oh.
No, that was actually very good, which is unusual.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So I'm Aoife, and I'm in Donegal in Ireland, and I'm behind a lot of the XR beliefs, and but I'm not part of it, and I am really loving the empathy circles, so that's why I'm here.
Great to have you. Thanks for coming. There's a woman that I see, but there's no name associated. Your hair is backlit. You're muted, though. You have to unmute yourself.
I think that's Sarah.
Oh, that's Sarah?
Yeah,
Yes,
my name's
now I see it.
Hi, my name's Sarah, and I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm one of the Green Party county councilors here, and I'm really excited to be here and excited to connect with everyone on important issues and empathy.
Great to have you, Sarah.
Thank you.
And then I see, and I remember the irrepressible Dan Feldman. Dan, could you introduce yourself? You're muted right now.
Hi, I'm Dan Feldman, and I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I'm here. I'm actually a part of the XR technology group with the UK group, and I'm looking to mobilize practices such as empathy circling and many other practices throughout the XR community and internationally using technology to do this.
Great, really look forward for your help. Thanks a lot, Dan. And I think Yaron, we got Ben Mann. Ben, you can hear us? Yeah, there we go.
Ben, member of Sheffield XR. We come to these calls for a few weeks, couple of months now.
Yeah. Great, Ben. Good to see you again. And Stephen in Uganda. Stephen, can you hear us? You're muted. I don't know if you, we can't see you, and we see that you're, there we go. Stephen, can you hear us? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Nice to be here. I'm Stephen from Uganda, and from XR Uganda, and my local group is XR Bukoma Nsimbi. It's like this is my first time to attend this meeting, and so I'm looking forward to learn more and meet more people. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you there, Stephen, and we really hope that you enjoy yourself. It's great. So thank you all. Again, the topic today is COVID-19 mutual support, or wherever, seems to be working you. We're going to start off with a short meditation to set our intent, and then we'll go fairly quickly into the breakout circles. But first, I think we want to do a little bit of do we want to show the video or an explanation, Edwin?
Maybe a short explanation, because I think most of the people know how to do the empathy circle, just so the minimal, probably.
Yeah, okay. So the empathy circle, one of the things we value is mutuality, and we use 5-minute turns. And so when you hear the bell, or you'll see like somebody will hold up a phone or whatever it is, or a piece of paper, it's not a hard close. You don't have to cut yourself off, finish what you're saying, try to wrap up, and then get a reflection. And the essence of this practice is to listen without judgment. So listen for the words, you can paraphrase, but refrain from making comments, either pro or con, sympathy, relating your own experiences. Now, when it's your turn to speak, should you be moved to respond to something, that's, totally open. Okay, and I'm just trying to see, that's the gist of it. Edwin, Marta, Carolina, am I missing anything else?
5-minute turns.
Right. Okay.
And the easiest is just to observe how others are doing it. If you're not familiar with it, I think most of the people know how to do the empathy circle. So one person speaks, you select who you're going to speak to. That person reflects back their understanding until you feel heard, or 5 minutes is up. Then it becomes the listener's turn to become the speaker, and they select who they want to speak to, and we go around for the time allotted. And the topic is just whatever is on your mind around the COVID pandemic, any sort of support you're needing or anything you want to share. And I created 4 rooms. So the first one was with Bill, second one Carolina facilitating, and the third one is Martha, if that's okay. And we'll be recording the first circle.
So if I asked for co-hosting, okay.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just to let you know, if you look in the chat, I've put the on arrival document where you can record and take notes, give your contact information, things like that. So everybody should be able to see that. We'll start with a short 1-minute meditation. This is about, yes, Carolina?
Before meditation, I just want a technical question. Which breakout rooms will be recorded?
Number 1 with Bill,
Okay.
and it'll be
Okay.
Stefan, Yaren, and
Okay.
I will be in that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're going to do, so I invite you to think about listening. This is about listening. So think about the people you listen to, think about the sounds in nature or even the city that you hear, and also think about how you listen figuratively, how you listen to your head or your heart, how you listen to your better angels, okay? And then we're going to just meditate in silence, and I invite you also to enjoy the spaciousness of 1 minute. And we'll begin now. Okay. And that was 1 minute. And I think we're ready to go into breakout rooms now.
And we have 1 hour and 15 minutes for those that can stay the full amount. Too might just add. So opening in the circles, and then we'll come back for the debrief part. So you can join the rooms.
Great. Okay, just to let people know, again, we're recording. Yaren, I believe you're kind of new to the process. Maybe you want to like just observe it a little bit before, and then, you know, when you feel comfortable, going to get you involved. Okay. Who would like to start? Oh, we have, and Aoife. Hi, Aoife. How you doing? Okay, great. All right. And just to let you know, Aoife, we are recording. So, okay. Who would like to start to speak first?
Just keeping time?
I'm keeping time.
Okay.
So
I'll be happy to start.
Great. All right. And go ahead. Pick a person and let her rip.
Yesterday.
Who are you speaking to?
I'm sorry. I will. I'll speak to Edwin.
Great.
Listening.
Yeah. Yesterday, I had a very challenging day. A lot of anger came up for me due to a situation that I was involved in at work. And thankfully, I have a little perspective on it right this moment.
So I'm hearing that yesterday you had a very challenging day and that some anger came up and you have some space now, so a bit of a perspective on it.
more than some. A
Oh,
lot.
a lot. You have a lot of perspective. So
No, a
real
lot of
clarity.
anger.
Oh, a lot of anger came up. Okay.
Yeah, and the other wonderful thing that happened yesterday is I participated in a facilitator training on building resilience. With a gentleman named Joel Bennett, who's a psychologist who studied with Daniel Goleman and the guy at Wisconsin who does the neuroimaging studies. What's his name? David Richardson. And so it was just an amazing experience, and it just made me realize that as I'm trying to learn how to teach this, I'm also continuing to embody the practices in myself and treat myself and take care of myself as I'm trying to help other people.
So you took a workshop which was really quite amazing, and it gave you an insight that you really need to take care of yourself while you're doing this. And it was with some notable people from notable background. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I then Bill and Edwin and I have been working on and talking about creating a training that would be specific to utilizing the empathy circle in healthcare workers. And I did quite a bit of work on it last, a version I put together of about 50 slides, which I'll share with you guys sometimes. So I'm very excited and to collaborate with you guys on the content.
So you're excited about putting together a training for empathy. Is it empathy in healthcare for empathy circles? Yes. And you already got some slides, and you're really wanting to share that with us and collaborate on it.
Yes. I feel fully heard.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Then just to model it, I'll speak to Bill.
Listening.
So I'm excited about the training. We're talking about an empathy circle facilitator training, getting that started, and you and Lou are kind of going to put together a cohort. So I'm really curious what Stefan has in mind. Yeah. So and kind of getting that kind of going.
So you're excited about the facilitator training for the empathy circles, and Lou and myself are collaborating on a training, and you're also excited about getting Dr. Carlson's information and integrating, or Stefan's information.
And so there's that aspect. So I think it's really important that we kind of train people, and I've got that 8-hour training that people can actually just watch to get the ball started. Rolling, and then then of course taking part in person is really what's important, is having the experience, and so there's kind of those two parts, the didactic and the experiential part.
So you're excited about really exposing people to this, both with the video and the other information that you have, so that they can kind of view it and get the ball rolling, but also the interactive is very important. It's essential that people experience the empathy circle.
Yeah, and I'm finding myself very curious about what Stefan was angry about. It's like, what is this anger? I want to see the anger. I want to feel the anger. He doesn't look angry. He looks kind of stressed and kind of busy and engaged, and but I haven't seen the anger yet. So I really want to see and feel the anger.
Okay, and you want Stefan to let us go down and let his freak flag fly.
Yeah.
Run the anger.
Yeah, and it's good just to be able to reflect it and to hear it, and to have it be shared and to feel the rawness of it. I'm fine with that. You're totally welcome to vent any sort of strong feelings here.
Okay. So you're just mentioning that the empathy circle is a place where people can bring whatever is happening, and we'll kind of, listen and reflect. And so
Yeah.
you're really excited, and you're hoping that somehow Stefan, lets loose.
Yeah, let's the fur fly.
Let's
Because
the
when
fur
it's your
fly.
turn to speak, you can be judgmental. You can be, you can kind of
Right.
just be whatever you want. You can be angry, and ideally the person will listen and hear you to your satisfaction, and that can really help to, to kind of work through those feelings. You don't need to repress them here.
Right. So you're really emphasizing that the empathy circle is a safe place for one to be, just honest with their feelings and how they feel. They don't have to worry about being politically correct or anything.
Right.
And that when people have done that in your experience, that they do have a sort of therapeutic experience. In other words, it helps them move through those feelings rather than be stuck in them.
I feel fully heard. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Aoife, you listen to me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I'm also excited about the training, and I've been working on it with a friend and colleague, Lou Zwire, who's I greatly respect and is really helpful. I'll stop there.
So I'm hearing you say that you're also excited about this training that you've been working on, the empathy circle training, and you've been working on it with another colleague. So yeah, you're excited about that.
Yeah, and and I'm also excited about what Stefan has done, and and seeing how we can then kind of merge that, how we can make that effective, and for the medical community. I'll stop there.
And you're also reflecting on how you're observing what Stefan is doing, and there's excitement there about engaging the medical community and how that's going to look.
And also, I'm the son and grandson and cousin of like millions of doctors. I exaggerate, but and they live and we grew up. I grew up in the New York area and stuff, and so I feel an affiliation, and and I'm really appreciative of of the medical community, the doctors, but everybody who's been there, been social workers and things. Opening up to dialogue. I think that's so important. I'll stop there.
So, doctordom is very close to your heart, and you have a relationship already with this thing of being a doctor, and yeah, so it feels personal to you, this expansion and bringing the empathy into the world of something that has been part of your life for so long.
Yeah, and not only doctors, but I feel I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in psychiatric, so it's like the nurses, the maintenance people, because everybody's taking a risk here, whatever the level. And I think that for everybody to feel supported during this time, everybody needs to feel that they're, that everybody's involved. And so I really, what touches me about what Stefan is doing and the other doctors that I've talked to is that they're trying to, open up and break down those kind of social barriers. And I think that's very important.
So you're acknowledging that whole hospital is a multifaceted kind of organism. There's all the cleaners, there's the nurses, there's the whole structure there of human beings, and you have great respect for that and the work that's being done with Stefan about breaking down barriers within that and opening up the doors to this form of communication is just, it really touches you.
Right. And, and while I have a lot of respect for the medical community, also, I watched my father go through, he was chief resident at Bellevue and he was, teaching at NYU and and I do see in education this sort of you have to be punished in order to somehow, you got to pay your dues, you got to be a Superman, you got to be punished. And I worked in a very high stress job as a special education teacher for 40 years. And there's enough punishment. Certainly you want a rigorous vetting process and things like that, but people don't need to be punished. And certainly there was a few years ago talking about how interns and residents were like not getting enough sleep. That's not bringing the best medicine if we're not taking care of our healthcare workers at the same time. I'll stop there.
So, you're saying that or I'm hearing that you're saying that from personal experience with your father that there's a shadow side to the industry or the medical profession that has this quality that you've met before in your own work of punishing people, like a kind of brutality, and you are acknowledging that that's not helpful, that there can be rigor and structure and accountability and all of that, but the darker side, you're acknowledging we can let that go now.
Yes. And I have many more examples, but I'll save it now. I feel fully heard. Thank you, Aoife. Thanks for taking that journey with me.
So can I just pick anyone then, or will I go to Yaron?
It's up to you to choose whoever you want, but since Yaron hasn't spoken, it's good to choose him. Yeah.
Do you listen to me, Yaron?
Yes, I will listen.
So this is the second one of these with the doctor that I've been on, and I suppose I'm coming from I'm more in the natural health world, so I'm acknowledging of there is a conflict there right now, and I'm just noticing in myself, like I grew up in Northern Ireland and I've worked for years in conflict resolution. So I'm aware that it doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong. We all are, so I'm sitting in the middle of this kind of, with the empathy coming back into my life because I trained in nonviolent communication years ago. I'm sitting with this, I suppose I'm getting comfortable again being in the middle of differing viewpoints.
So what I'm hearing is that your background and where you come from is more in the natural health world, and now you're sitting with a group of doctors or clinicians, and you have focused on conflict resolution in the past, and you're now appreciating multiple viewpoints to the resolution of conflict.
Yeah. And I feel like this is a gift for me now to have this, this is here for me, the empathy groups, and I'm doing the training with Marta for the facilitation. But on a personal level, it's come to me to not get too much embedded into taking a side in whatever's going on.
So you've appreciated the training with Martha and being introduced back to the empathy group, but it sounds like you're being cautious to avoid taking a full stance or a side.
Yeah. So I suppose with me, it's about a balance between being true to myself and also being open to other opinions. And like I live in Ireland, so abortion is a huge I have friends on both sides, but then I have my own personal view, which isn't black and white either. You know, there's vaccine, that's another thing where I have friends on both sides, and then I have my personal. So, yeah, so it's just quite fascinating. I wouldn't say I'm excited about it, but I do find it quite fascinating. I'm a meditator and a meditation teacher, so I have a lot of detachment anyway. So yeah, it's interesting times.
There was a little bit of feedback, so please correct me if I didn't hear everything that you had mentioned. But what I did understand was that you've been trying to find a balance from, you know, your own personal background and that of, you know, multiple other opinions. In a way, you're appreciating that it's fascinating, this balance that you're navigating between your own personal background and the other experiences that you're hearing and weighing.
Yeah, just the word background, I don't know, is that my own personal, I don't, yeah, even belief or position. So even the language around it isn't my own take on it, maybe would be.
Oh, so I struggle to fully understand that too. There's a little bit of chopping in and out. I'm not sure if it's the audio.
Oh.
Would you mind repeating that part?
So you were using the word background, and I'm wondering, would more my take on it or my, yeah, position seems too fixed as well. So maybe my take on it.
So you're focusing on my use of the word background and how that relates to your position in this balance. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's just say that the language is, I need to think more about the language around this, maybe.
Okay. So part of the consideration is the language barrier, or there is a little bit of a difference perhaps in dialects or use of words that you're right now experiencing with this group pertaining to the empathy group.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you. I did my best.
It was tough. It was tough technical. You were floating in and out. The sound wasn't great, Aoife. That inside.
No, it was also Yaron. There's sort of feedback. I've been muting you between you speaking because there's sort of an echo-ish thing on your side. But anyway, yeah.
Let's see if I reposition. But thanks for letting me know. So I will. Edwin, will you listen?
Yeah, listening.
At first, I was trying to come up with a topic of what to discuss. Sometimes when the topic is discuss anything, it leaves it a little bit too broad. So you start to weigh things in medicine, things in life, and where you want to navigate and explore. That was my initial part of my first experience in the empathy circle.
So the topic being sort of open, you're kind of like wondering, oh, what do you really focus on? And you're just kind of sitting with that.
Exactly. I'm not involved in the writing of these procedures or new projects like Stefan is, and I haven't found myself to be extremely angry or found any sort of exciting situations as he has.
Yes, you don't have any real strong emotions or feelings around these topics.
Well, the topics, but also it sounds like Stefan had a particular situation he was referring to, and it's been a little bit more dull on my side.
So yeah, it's like you're just referencing Stefan, that he had some specific issues that kind of brought up his anger, etc. And on your side, it's actually kind of dull.
Yeah, I did think of something though, and I had an interesting conversation with a colleague of mine. One who's in the psychiatric field, and it was a little bit enlightening, and it made me think about things that I hadn't fully considered for some time.
So you had a conversation that's kind of brought up some things you hadn't thought of for a while. And it was sort of meaningful. Sounds like it was meaningful.
It certainly was. Particularly, a lot of our trainees have been relocated to fields and other specialties than they had chosen. And, the expression that this particular individual had used was that he had been relieved to be relocated because he was carrying feelings of guilt for not being exposed or being able to do more. And I found it extremely eye-opening and fascinating.
Mm-hmm. So it was really fascinating to you. Like this one person was been feeling guilt. It sounds like they weren't sort of on the front lines or something. But then when they're reassigned, sounds like he was put on the front lines, and so he was just sort of speaking that he felt some relief for that guilt that they'd had.
Yeah, that's right. Many people would not want to be put in a position that they're not as experienced, especially on the front lines where it's really been unpredictable. People have gotten sick. People have been passed away from their own exposures in the front line. And it had, I think, occurred to this person when he was thanked for the work that he was doing, and I guess he was wearing scrubs or something that made others think that he was working on the front lines, and it made him feel really guilty for even being thanked. Although he is doing frontline work to some degree, it just was really powerful to hear that.
Mm-hmm. So because he was wearing scrubs and everything, people were assuming that he was on the front lines, and they were thanking him, and then he felt guilty, like, well, I'm not really on the front lines, but he was to some extent.
Yeah. And there was no there was no reason. Well, there might have been a reason, but he is providing a service as well, and oftentimes front lines too. So it made me rethink about our position in this, and potentially doing more to provide for the community. And I use it more for inspiration. So I was grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is like inspiration for you. Like, how can you contribute to the community, and just give you some food for thought around that?
But that's right. That's right. I feel heard. Thank you.
Okay, great. Just mute there and speak to Stefan. Me.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see. I was just thinking of of what is needed for the healthcare field. I'm sort of more into the practicality, the logistics, the planning, that sort of level, because I'm just sitting here at home, pretty much out of and doing everything sort of online. And so I'm kind of more in sort of practical, logical mode for planning, like with what can we do with the healthcare in the healthcare field.
Well, you're basically giving a self-report that you're well-resourced in time and energy right now, but you're also emphasizing that your positive interest and focus right now is on these technical issues related to the planning and such of the healthcare. Also with a very neutral and kind of muted mood.
Yeah, it's reserved. It's like, trying to be in a practical, not kind of waste energy mood. And it's like, there is sort of this thing that comes up is like, you're talking about a slideshow, there's sort of this didactic making the case for healthcare, to implement. Really, what we're talking about is a culture of empathy. It's sort of a cultural shift to put empathy. We're doing these empathy circles just because this practice, I think, is one of the best ways of practicing, creating a little mini culture of empathy to model it. But it's really the larger how to create a culture of empathy of mutual empathy within healthcare and, you know, all of society for that matter. So, you know, there's a lot of strategizing, planning, articulation, you know, that kind of needs to go into that.
Yes, it's quite complex. What this complexity you're describing of you know, introducing the empathy circle as a way both to demonstrate how in the moment we can slow down and listen to each other and provide empathy, peer empathy, but it also is in this bigger realm of spreading the culture of empathy and making it and making it fit within the healthcare you know domain or within healthcare organizations, or kind of thinking about that.
Yeah, so I'm looking at, you know, how do you have the entry point? You know, what is it that you have to sort of motivate? I mean, Yaron and you are here. I mean, it's like there's a motivation. Maybe, you know, Yaron is here because he's a friend of yours and you kind of said, oh, would you take part in this? And, you know, you've had some experience with empathy circles. And so there's sort of a motive. What are the motivations and, you know, for bringing this into the healthcare field? So I'm really kind of sitting with, you know, how do we create that motivation, you know, for the system, people in the system to embrace this. I don't know if that's
I'm here.
just abstract, but that's how my brain works.
I'm hearing that that you're really noticing a need for it, for the empathy circle and for a culture of empathy in medicine, and I'm hearing a desire on your part, a longing to want to create, you know, change, and
it might be motivation. I'm looking for what's the motivation going to be in the healthcare field for embracing more empathy. I think so. I'm searching for the motivations that, you know, we can speak to. So I think motivation is the core there.
so you're searching for the why of or how we're going to influence people to take part in this basic practice of empathy.
Yeah, and I think of, you know, there's a lot of studies, you know, the benefits of empathy within healthcare. You know, Helen Reese really articulates those because, you know, for her empathy company and in business. So, and there's all kinds of studies, you know, about the benefits of empathy. And I don't know if that's what really does it, is like making the intellectual case for it. That's one aspect. The other is for some kind of an experience where, oh, you know, I was feeling down. Somebody listened to me. This feels pretty good. I want to spread this, you know.
Okay, so you're saying, should we approach it from a data perspective, either make the business case, make the science case, or should we tell a story here about our own experiences?
Or all of the above.
Or all of the above.
Plus some more, yeah.
Plus some more.
Yeah, I feel fully heard.
Anything we can do.
So that's where my mind is. I'm just thinking of strategizing of those kind of things. So yeah.
Your mind is busy. Very busy.
Yeah. And it feels fully heard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Aoife, can you hear me?
Yes, Stefan. Yeah.
Would you mind listening to me?
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like Edwin would take great joy to have me explode and go crazy and express my anger as I was experiencing it yesterday. But I'm not going to give him that joy today.
So I'm hearing that you've heard Edwin in his desire to experience the full being you in your full anger, just for the fun of it. But you're making a conscious decision not to do that.
Well, I mean, I could tell the story. I could, and but I'm not in an angry place today. Amen.
So So I'm hearing that you could tell the story, but maybe you're finding it hard to connect with the story because you don't have the same it's not as up for you today.
Oh, I could connect with it in about 2 seconds. But what I'm noticing today is we have a very different experience than, say, the last time we had a empathy circle together. The one we had on I think it was Wednesday, or it was interesting. It was supposed to be a planning empathy circle, and it was supposed to be with people who kind of maybe were ready to facilitate and things. But it turned out to be something totally different, which was fine. It turned out that the people in that group needed a lot of validation, a lot of listening, a lot of deep listening, and needed some buoying up and some resilience building for themselves, because a lot of the people on the Zoom meeting seemed to be in distress.
So I'm hearing that you're reflecting on the meeting you had on Wednesday, that you had expected to be a planning meeting, but the way it turned out was that there was a lot of distress. So you find yourself in the role of support and validation, which was different to what you expected. And you're acknowledging that this is a very different meeting again.
Yes, I'm feeling that this group is somehow much more well resourced and timed, and for whatever reason, this group is in a different emotional place overall. The social contagion effect here seems to be calmness that I'm noting.
So just connecting with this group as it is now, it feels quite different to the previous group in that the overall tone is calm, and I can't remember the word you said, like together.
The social contagion.
Yeah, the social contagion is a calm kind of togetherness.
Yes. So one of the things I'm reflecting that's really cool about the empathy circle is that one way to motivate people is I'm noticing that you could be in the green zone, you could be thriving and resilient and ready, and in that state you can use the empathy zone to kind of reflect on what you're doing well and how you're making a difference. And in that state you can really be a great listener, and you can have the focus to be able to help people. But a lot of people were in probably the orange or yellow zone, as I call it, yesterday. And that's why I don't want to go there about the anger per se, because I feel like I'm in a thriving mode where my perspective is more expansive, and I'm open to, like Oifa said, holding different views and opinions. I'm able to do that right now. I certainly wasn't yesterday.
So in the circles you've noticed in yourself and perhaps in other people, that if you're very much in the green zone, you're very active, you're very there's something very alive for you, that's has one quality, but then you can be in these different like emotional zones, and today you're feeling very like you've a lot of perspective and you're enjoying being in that. So if you were, there's a sense of if you were to go back to kind of rehash the anger thing of yesterday, well, there's no point really.
No, not that at all.
Okay.
Because I'm not. It's not that I'm avoiding the anger. Okay, because I mean, it's that I am not I'm not, and the anger is not coming up in me. I can cognitively recall what the anger was about, but with more distance from the situation, and more perspective taking and more awareness, self-awareness and other awareness, I have I fucked up in some way yesterday on my own, and I can accept that. And I can also accept this other person's, faults and vulnerabilities and foibles. And, I'm feeling equanimity with with humans as we are, both myself and others.
So I'm hearing that it's not a matter of pushing away the anger or negating it or having a judgment on it. You're able to hold all that happened, your part, the other person's part, hold it in equanimity. So it's not an either or position. You can hold it all at once.
I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Bill, would you listen to me?
Happily.
So I went to the supermarket yesterday. I had to think for a second. And the guy on the till, I could see him wince as he put the stuff on his hands after the person before me. So he kind of winced, and he was rubbing it on his hands very like it was painful. And I suppose I've had so little, human, not like I wasn't physically touching him, but I was physically close. I just felt so much empathy for him and pointed it out. I was like, "Oh, your hand's sore." And he looked so shocked, like I'd read his mind. When to me it was quite obvious, I saw the reaction. So I kind of pulled back a wee bit, and then we ended up having a wee conversation about how to moisturize and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it really made me realize how different it is to be in lockdown. And I'm in heaven. I'm on retreat. I'm meditating all the time. I live in a beautiful place. It's like one of the most beautiful times of my life. And to be in that, and also to see other people, like the healthcare workers, the people in shops, it's very strange. I don't find that fascinating. I just find it very strange that we are all having very different experiences.
So you were remarking about experience you had yesterday when you went to the store, to the grocery store, I think, and there was a person there, the checker, was after each time interacting with a customer, he would put hand sanitizer on his hands, and it was looked obviously painful. He would wince, and so you remarked about that, and he was very surprised by that anybody was noticing that, like you had read his mind. And then you had a conversation with him, a short conversation, which seemed to kind of flesh out that feeling of connection, and then that you kind of use that reflection to talk about sort of the experience of COVID and the isolation, whereas with your lifestyle, it's pretty much just right in sync. You're doing a lot of meditation. It's beautiful. You live in a beautiful place. But then when you see the other struggles that people are going through, there's sort of a disconnect. and it's not like fascinating, but it's sort of like very strange, you know, noticing where you are and where other people are at this time. Did I miss anything?
No, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first few weeks, I felt very guilty. And then I realized how that's just a complete waste of time. You know, I am doing a lot of, I'm offering all of my stuff online free. So, you know, I am doing things. But yeah, it's, I suppose I have the sense of just staying in my own story and doing what I'm best at, and that's okay.
Okay. So you were kind of contrasting, and I might have missed something at the beginning, but you were contrasting, you know, your relative well-being with the struggles that other people are going through. And there was a bit of, not survivor's guilt, that's probably overdone. But you know, there's a bit of guilt. Well, you know, you know, want them to feel good too. You feel that way, and so then you realize, and you checked in. You're offering a lot of things online for free, and you're doing your part. So that helped to put it in perspective for you.
Yeah, that it isn't helpful to other people for me to feel bad. You know, that's not going to help anyone.
Uh-huh.
So that was my conclusion. But one thing I know the timer has gone.
That's okay. Go ahead.
One thing that I'm noticing, and what I really want to do with the empathy, is sometimes my helpfulness is actually not helpful. And I noticed it a little bit with the guy at the checkout. I was kind of aware that I needed to be pulling back a bit more than I was. Like, do you know, I was just noticing that when is it helpful to engage and when is it not? So I was just very aware of that.
Yeah, so you were kind of gauging, you know, sort of a gray area of like, when is being engaging and helpful, and when is it not? And sometimes it can be more helpful to let a person just kind of go through their without, you know, the interference. Now, there are a few things there. I might have missed it. Did I get that fully right, or?
No, that's it. Thank you, Bill. I feel fully heard. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yaron, would you listen to me?
Certainly.
Okay. I was sort of interested in something that Stefan said yesterday about studies that show that women healthcare workers are suffering from stress rather, more stress, and also possibly more negative health, you know, effects from this whole situation. I think both the virus and then also trying to deal with and treating people with the virus. So I was interested in that.
So from what I heard is that you were reflecting on some of the studies that Stefan had mentioned about challenges that are happening particularly to women, and some of the negative effects that they're experiencing, you know, both from the virus and from media and television, and that's something that resonated with you.
Yeah, and I was just wondering, a friend of mine asked me about that and why was that? And I had no idea. It was just a passing remark that Stefan had made. But I was kind of speculating that it might be that, for instance, women, when they go home, they have a lot more, if it's a traditional situation, they have a lot more jobs to do at home than men many times. And then also, women are acculturated to really feel in and be more empathetic. And so therefore they might take the stress more personally. I have no idea whether that's true or not, but that was just sort of my speculation.
So it sounds like you've been trying to reason as to what would be the case that women are affected a lot more by this, and your speculations have led you to think about women having, you know, in more traditional settings, more jobs in men, particularly pertaining to things that are happening at home. And inherently, if women are more empathetic, then they may be more emotionally susceptible to the effects of this.
Yeah. And it's important to me because as proud and as much as I love my father and grandfather and everything they did, I love my grandmother, who was a writer, my mother, who was a businesswoman and an actress and speech therapist, and going all the way back to my great grandmother, who was the first woman to graduate from Tulane University, who wanted to become a doctor, but they told her, well, you have to become a pharmacist. Women can't become doctors. And so I really felt that. You know, I appreciated their intelligence and all the skills they had, yet they didn't seem to reap the same rewards. Their opportunities were circumscribed. I'll stop there.
It sounds like you've been recognizing, through some self-reflection, the disparities between the way that women and men were treated, especially pertaining to your own family. And it sounds like you're thinking about your grandmother and mother and your great-grandmother who may have had amazing opportunities to, not only that she graduated as the first woman from Tulane, but had aspirations on becoming a doctor, and she was relegated to having a different role that was not allowed or available to women, and had to settle to being a pharmacist, even though that wasn't necessarily where her aspirations were. And these are some of the feelings that are underneath your recognition of these disparities that you mentioned. Yeah,
and I just want to give kind of a shout out also to the women that I was the first special education teacher who I was assistant to. My first, we had the director of that school was a marriage and family counselor, and she gave each employee like a half an hour a week just to listen. And I'm just really grateful for everything that they brought there.
Yeah. From what I'm hearing is more appreciation to women who've had particular influences in your life. You're thinking particularly about this. I think she was a special ed teacher, from what you mentioned. She was the first. She was a director of marriage and family counseling that had the foresight to provide what seems to be almost an empathy circle in itself, a 30-minute session where employees were given an opportunity to speak and listen to each other. And these are some deep feelings that you have ingrained with appreciation towards women.
Thanks, Yaron. I feel fully heard.
Let's see. Stefan, would you listen?
I would love to.
I think hearing about how you don't want to go to the place of anger makes me want to hear about this story that much. Can't let you get off the hook with that. No, I appreciate that. From what you had mentioned, sometimes you're in a place that emotions take over you and you don't necessarily want to be there. It sounded like some time letting you sort of metabolize your situation allowed you to overcome it, and you don't want to be back in that place. And I can really appreciate that.
The first one is this kind of mischievous curiosity of wanting to really dig into this story of anger, that somehow it brings some levity to you for me to talk about it, but you also acknowledge and appreciate what your sense is of me being able to somehow distance myself from this powerful emotion, and your perception that want to somehow avoid it, or your perception that you understand that I want to somehow avoid it.
Yeah, I think that you're in a place right now that you don't want to revisit it. And if I'm off, then I apologize. But the reflection that I have is, I guess on a personal level, where I could relate to that, particularly on the home front, where it's been extremely stressful, and exploring feelings of anger. Going back about a week or two ago, I certainly experienced that, trying to do everything that I could to help my young kids enter these Zoom sessions and try their best to focus and pay attention to this new normal of how school's being taught, and watching them either not be interested or struggle with it really brought out strong emotions, so much so that I wanted to correct the situation that I couldn't. And I now have a little bit more of a different perspective.
Well, again, you first initially finding parallel with, again, my anger, but that somehow brought up in you a story that you wanted to tell about the situation that made you angry. Your children are, doing the best they can in this social distancing situation with, I guess, school or whatever, and using Zoom, and they were they're kids. They were playing, and their attention wasn't, what it should be, and they weren't participating in the way that you expected them to, and you just couldn't. You were angry with the present moment as it was, and you didn't want to accept it, and you were trying to change it.
Yeah, I think that you're right on with that. I more have been able to empathize with their circumstance and situation, and not be hung up on the struggles that they're experiencing, even though they might not perceive it as struggles. I know that they're not as engaged as they were on a face-to-face, and being able to appreciate that, maybe letting off a little bit, and understanding that their social environment is not what it was before. Maybe easing up will allow them to thrive a little bit better than being more of an authoritarian. And although I'm not able to maybe have this conversation with them, as they might not be on the cognitive level to understand the empathizing remarks, being able to empathize with their situation has helped calm me down.
Okay. There's a lot there. In the moment now, as you're being really aware of yourself, you noticed that anger was not helpful for you or your children. That this injury that was, you noticed that things were not right in the moment, and you decide, instead of trying to fix things, you were going to be you were going to show your children that you could be kind to them, and that you can be kind to the situation. Maybe just accept the situation as it is in this moment, and as it was in that moment.
Yeah, I was hoping I was kind to them before. I don't, and not particularly mean, but there's a frustration that's built up over there, and being able to appreciate that, not necessarily making every single meeting or completing every single assignment might not be the most important thing in the world right now. And I've noticed that their tension is eased up also. So that's where my self-reflection took me.
Your mind, your children's minds were not focused. They were distracted. There was a second piece of that that I wanted to reflect on.
Yeah, you were getting there also, just being able to maybe look at it from their perspective and realize what may be more important in the whole situation is not necessarily the one assignment, but appreciating the picture, the big picture. And that's the environment is what it is right now, and kindness and levity would suit them better.
So you caught yourself in woulda, coulda, shoulda thinking, and you realize that it's probably maybe there's a more effective way of handling this COVID-19 situation than wishing it were a different way, and trying to just find a way to grow and for your children to grow in this moment just as it is, with the limitations that it has, with the distractions that it has, with the technology problems that it has, still, and yet, wanting to find something there, some kind of potential.
Yeah, I think you actually made me think about more things, but I feel heard and I appreciate it. Thank you. I know it was a lot of information. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Bill, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
This COVID-19 is just, I think it's the most important days of my entire life. As I'm looking at myself in the Zoom camera, that angelic, boyish face has disappeared. And I have these horrible wrinkles in my frontalis. And, I can't even find a dermatologist to get myself some fucking Botox.
So you're reflecting how this COVID-19 and the situation is maybe the most important days of your life, and you're noticing the wear and tear, specifically the wrinkles and I think the frontalis, I would call it the forehead, and nobody has Botox. What's up with that?
Yeah. I was also making some lightness of the situation, but I think we'll look back, and I know I will look back on what I'm very fortunate to have in my own life is a period of I've had the opportunity, based on my lifestyle, my coping skills, my perspective at this time, and my chances of running into you guys in the sympathy circle again, of just finding myself in this moment in many ways thriving and really growing in so many wonderful ways in my life right now. And I'm feeling it right in this moment with this group, and I'm just feeling gratitude.
So you were reflecting on, looking back on this, how important this would be this time, and, evaluating shifts and different perspectives of yourself, and then how you appreciate the empathy circle and the container here, and especially this group right now, and you really have a deep appreciation of the process and all of our participants.
Yeah, yeah. I have gratitude for my commitment to myself, to growing my life, my how my confidence has, even though my wrinkles are much deeper, my confidence in my own ability to find stress, find challenge, find opportunity in stress, and take it on is like so other than what I can recall when I had a boyish face. How times have changed for me, for both good and bad, and I'm okay with that.
Right. So you're talking about the more superficial aspects of physical appearance, and then you're contrasting that with the like a deeper wisdom that you're and self-awareness that you're achieving at this particular time. And what I get, you're happy with the self-awareness and realize that the other things happen.
Yes, I feel flavored. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right, Edwin, would you listen to me?
Yeah, listening.
Okay. So I'm also very appreciative of this circle, of the sharing, the honest sharing going on, and how underlying, despite whatever the content might be of what we're talking about, there seems to be kind of a shared human experience, which is the basis of creating community, and that this is the essence of what we're trying to do. I'll stop there.
So you're just having some appreciation or even gratitude for the underlying quality that's in the circle of creating a community, hearing each other, and this underlying level and the importance of it, maybe sense of the.
And let's see what else is. So I'm just right now. I'm just sort of sitting. I'm just sort of feeling it, letting the feelings kind of sink in, and because my feeling is that that there's a great unmet need in our culture for that feeling of community and culture, or shared culture. I'll stop there.
So you're just sitting with the experience of that feeling of connection or community, and you just see that there's a large sort of unmet need for that that feeling, and you're just sitting with it, like you don't have a lot to really say about it, but just sitting with the felt experience of it.
Yeah. Okay. Don't tempt me here. So.
Maybe you do have a lot to say.
Well, I always have a lot to say, and you've been a good friend in listening to it all. I'll stop there.
So some appreciation for our friendship and for me listening to whatever comes up for you.
Yeah. And what was it? I just feel, I guess what I'm really trying to get to, and I'm not quite sure though, is that this is if anybody is watching this video or whatever, anybody sees it, this is a culture of empathy. This is, it's not everything, but you can kind of see that this is what we mean, and this is the experience that we have, and I'm very appreciative of it.
So you're just pointing out to anybody that is observing or watching this, that this feeling of mutual listening and this quality is what a culture of empathy is, and sort of just you have sort of an appreciation of it.
Yeah. Thank you, Edwin. I feel fully heard.
Okay. Thanks. I guess Ofi, I doubt if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, Eva. It's like Eva.
Oh, Eva. Okay. Oh, great. Yeah. So I had made some notes, and I guess I wanted to go. I appreciate. Well, one thing I appreciate Bill's. Just naming the felt experience of sense of connection. We're pausing. We're creating space for that deeper connection. So yeah, sort of appreciation for him, sort of going into his body and sharing those feelings.
So I'm hearing you say that you're kind of honoring what Bill has just shared about the felt experience of the process, and that we're in the process, we're honoring the pauses, we're sharing, and that's very important to you to acknowledge that.
Yeah. And some appreciation for Bill sharing that. And then the other is, I still do want to see the anchor. Let's not get too kumbaya here. It's like, and the reason is because I guess I wanted to demonstrate that the empathy circle can hold strong emotions. And so I'm kind of joking about that, but I guess I am wanting to kind of make the point that the space can hold, it doesn't have to be kumbaya. It can be, anger, judgment, stuff like that. So I guess I want to make that point.
And you're referring back again to the anger that came up that belonged to one of the other people in the group. And you have a sense that it's really important for anybody watching this to know that this is a safe place for that, for anger to be brought up and met.
Yeah, and it's sort of like I'm sort of speaking to Yaron on the side, just because I know he's here. Is that there's a documentary trailer called Trump Phobia: What Both Sides Fear, and if anybody wants to look that up later, you can see it's about the political left-right, battles, and street fights that are going on and around the country, after Trump got elected, and how we actually take an empathy tent and go into those situations and do mediation. And we are dealing with seriously angry people, because some of those street fights is literally bloody. I mean, if you see the trailer, you see, there's people, getting beat up and bloody. And we go right into that with the empathy circle. And it is challenging and sort of is engaging. So yeah, I guess I'm making sort of the case for the empathy circle can hold these other type of emotions.
So I'm hearing you say that, like in your previous sharing, you said that it's not just a kumbaya. It's good to acknowledge the lovely feelings and the sense of connection, but also you personally with the group have done the empathy tents in very hostile, even violent situations with the left and right in America around Trump's election. And you put the tents right in the middle of that. And the process worked within that, so that Yaron and anybody else watching knows that that's one side of this is going into that real raw emotion.
Yeah, and the other, in terms of motivation, we're talking about motivation. I'm still on that, of taking part. I've been just seeing that we need sort of an assertive empathy. So as part of that, mediation, I've been wanting to, and I keep mentioning this, is take when this COVID stuff is over, take the empathy tent to the Capitol Mall in front of Congress, and we demand that congressional members do empathy circles with each other, because I think just like, oh, please, can we do empathy circles, or have this empathic culture, as people don't take it seriously unless there's some assertiveness behind it. So I'm kind of in this assertive mode as well.
So you're acknowledging that empathy sometimes is perceived to be a kind of a soft, wishy-washy thing. And that is part of it, but you're really feeling right now the active sense of empathy, that it's a very bold, brave, heroic kind of thing. And you have this vision of bringing it to Capitol Hill. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, the Congress, you know, put it in front of the White House. Yeah, we'll put the, yeah.
Yeah, and saying this is who we are and demanding that everybody becomes empathic.
Power to the listeners. Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thanks.
Thank you, Edwin. Stefan, would you listen to me?
Hi.
Thanks. Well, I'm feeling a lot of energy from what Edwin just said. That, you know, having grown up in a war where, you know, who's right, who's wrong, and people are getting blown up and shot, and then seeing the different sides and this whole conversation about when is violence necessary, you know. So these conversations have always been going on for me since I was a child. And I love that idea of, for me, I practice compassion meditation, metta, and it's been the most powerful thing in my life to forgive the violence I experienced growing up. And it's not a wishy-washy thing, it's fierce. You know, I often say it's like the, you know, the mama bear or the lioness. You know, it's very a ferocious, protective energy. So I'm just enjoying that feeling that has been brought up in the group.
You're locating in your heart this, maybe this sense of self-compassion and compassion toward others, this kindness, this love that maybe can be soft, but it also, in the context of growing up in a war environment, in a conflictual environment, where you've found that this compassion, this love, it's not just soft, that it's allowed you to be strong at the same time.
Yeah. There's a feeling of, often with my work, you know, teaching meditation, the only way to get that across is through your physical presence, and not physical, your actual energetic presence, if you can handle that language, because no words can even contain the that there's I love in Buddhism the word unshakability, like in that state of protective compassion, empathy, whatever it is, there's an unshakable quality to it that I think is something that we feel on a presence kind of level.
Some things are difficult to put into words. You're finding it difficult to put into words, but you find in meditation where, you know, in this very act of you know, being in the body, being aware of the body, in this spaciousness in this present moment, there can be both maybe something almost like a mountain pose, or like a strength that is noted in the body, in the moment of you know, whatever else is going on. There's a place of that is just certainty, and a place to go back and feel like you're there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm loving about the empathy circles is, you know, when you first see the facilitator model that lack of reactivity to someone's you know, behavior, whatever, maybe destructiveness, it is kind of revolutionary in our culture for people to not be reactive, because so much of our culture is hype and reactivity. So yeah, it's I'm really enjoying that right now in this process.
I'm noticing preference right now. You have a preference for not reacting, but rather having this more slowed down responding.
Yeah, I prefer that. Thank you, Stefan. I feel fully heard by that.
All right. I'm going to have to go in just about 3 minutes here. So this has been a wonderful experience. I appreciate everyone's contribution. I'm so excited that Yaron joined, because Yaron is director of child division, system program director of child, and so he influences the child residents and fellows. I'm sad that he couldn't get it together to get them to come today, so he failed in some ways. But I won't beat him up for that. I'm just so feeling gratitude for him being here, because I can see it on his face. I think he got something out of it today. I'm putting words into his mouth because I'm in a hurry right now, and I have to react. I can't respond right now because I got to get out of here in a minute. But Miss and Valley Oifa, I don't want to say your name wrong, but you've been such a beautiful addition to this group. So glad to meet you. And of course, I got my two old cadres over here, who are the pillars and the hold the fort down, and people you can rely on and who keep calm and always have something very deep and helpful to say. So just a round of appreciation for everyone. So, yeah.
Great. Glad you could join us for the time. And yeah, feel free to drop out whenever you need to. Yeah, that's fine.
Take care. I hope to meet you again, Aoife.
Okay. Okay.
I'm also going to have to jump on a call right now, but I appreciate this very much. I think that this was extremely helpful, and you're all just wonderful professionals, and I learned a lot from this experience. I gathered from the end that that Stefan was redirecting us, as he avoided to tell us the story very skillfully. So left on the shelf. I'm gonna have to hound him down for that. But thank you very much, and I wish you all a great weekend. And I'm sure I'll see you again. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks for joining us, Yaron.
Okay.
Okay, well, we have about 7 minutes before we go back to the full group.
Sure. Edwin, you'd like to speak? Aoife?
What was the question?
We have 7 minutes before the.
7 minutes.
So if someone wants to speak,
yeah,
do a round.
I was just speaking, wasn't I?
You were, and then there was sort of like a, yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
Right? But yeah, okay.
Well, I'll speak then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll speak to you, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yes,
really
sir.
appreciate the, Stefan and all the work he's doing, bringing in, the other physicians and kind of spreading the word. And so, yeah, appreciative of that. I do sense he's got a lot on his plate. He's, busy, and I feel a little bit of that stress and tension, but just really appreciate that commitment he has to this practice and culture of empathy.
So you're expressing your appreciation for Stefan's commitment to the process and what it does.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the training, getting that set up. And I think Eva is doing some of the training with Martha. So yeah, just I think it's kind of the next stage is really ramping up the training for XR and for for the doctors, for the healthcare workers. So it does seem that that's sort of the next stage, is to really focus on that.
So you're talking about how there's a convergence of energy right now in the circle process to focus on the facilitation training or training in general.
Yeah, I feel fully heard.
Okay. All right. Aoife, will you listen to me?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's I had a few butterflies because I mean, I have facilitated before, but this was a little bit more on spot. I was dealing with some, when I like, I noticed that Stefan likes to be called Stefan and not Dr. Carlson. I had to suss that out, but for years I was trained, to give people their titles, which is generally what I do. So it takes a little bit of time for me to kind of untrain myself. I'll stop there.
So you're acknowledging that you had some kind of nervousness to begin with, because you're used to facilitating, but this felt a bit bigger. And one of the things was just in terms of how people want to be addressed. You're given the full title of doctor, and you notice that Stefan didn't want that. So honoring that. So maybe, yeah, just holding it all together was a new thing.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that, and it's about, the type of community that participating in these circles creates, in that, I've participated with Marta and Carolina in circles and planning meetings and stuff, and you're in great hands, in the training with Marta. And it's just so nice to, to really trust someone like that, and appreciate them, both Marta and Carolina. I don't want to leave Carolina out because she's really putting a lot of, effort in. And so it's just, it's nice to kind of like feel sort of like community with people who aren't even in the circle right now. I'll stop there.
So I'm hearing you say that there's a community in this empathy circle world that you can even feel now with the connections, even though the people aren't here. And you are confident in the other facilitators' abilities, and it gives you just a really nice feeling to be part of that community.
And thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. Okay. Was there a message came through?
Oh, I just had sent that message. That was 4 minutes till closing. So we have about, 2 minutes. So
okay.
We can just kind of open it up if you want. Just any, I apologize. I'm kind of doing facilitation, Bill. So
that's all right. No.
It's it's your call to do what you want. So Bill is facilitating, and I found myself a couple times going to apologize for.
No, that's fine, Edwin. Friend and a mentor, and it was dead air, and I had nothing. So yeah, finish what you want to say.
Oh yeah, I really appreciate this. Really great for having Aoife in the call too. Really added a lot to the call.
Yeah.
I felt a bit nervous with the just with what I was saying about, you know, the clinical health system, and but I'm going through your training too, Edwin, with the long videos on the sharing and the listening, and that's really helping me to hear so many different explorations, because at the beginning, the listener, I was really thinking, oh, that's going to be difficult, but I'm actually finding the speaking. I feel like I can disassociate sometimes when I'm speaking. I'm just like, ugh. Whereas now it's helped me to be more conscious when I'm speaking and to pause. Yeah.
So you're watching that training, the 8-hour this video recording? Oh, great. Glad somebody's getting some use out of that.
It's very helpful.
I'll just say one thing to Bill, that in terms of the doctors, I've always done the opposite. I've always removed titles. It's gotten me into a lot of trouble, but it was for equality, you know, sense that we're all equal. So I'm going to throw out your title. Use first name basis for everybody. So that was from my, you know, so, but I'm going to close the rooms, and we'll have 60 seconds before we're brought back in.
Okay. Spoken like a man who didn't live with Dr. Filler.
Right. Yeah. Well, look forward to the trainings, and it's just like being a good listener, being a good speaker, you know, being sensitive to being able to speak in a way that's simple enough for the listener to hear, and all that. There's so much, like that's the whole thing, is how do we really deepen this practice, you know, how do we become better listeners and better speakers? And so it's an ongoing challenge.
Yeah, and I think it's an ongoing process. It's going to, like we say, it's like exercise.
Yeah. I really felt that, like my brain is active.
Yeah, I appreciate the assertiveness, that you resonated with that assertiveness part of the empathy. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so welcome back. We're waiting, I guess, for a few more people to pop in. Let me see here. Okay, we have 12. I guess. Dan.
I just put the link in again for the on arrival document for anyone that wants to add your contact info. There's a link there. You need to copy and paste that into a browser, because used to be you could click on it and it would take you there. You have to physically copy and paste it into a browser.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get started. People might drop in. Two of the people in our circle had to leave because of other things. So at this particular point, we just want to kind of share your experience, and you know, in about a minute or less or something like that. So we'll go around, and I'll just kind of go around on my screen, and I'll start with Dan. Are you ready, Dan?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, it was quite an experience. Not what I expected, and I was even hesitant to come here. I thought I had a million other things that I needed to do, but I dropped in, and I really ended up connecting very, very much with Marta and Divya and Sarah. Yeah, we had a pretty. We went specific. We went abstract. We went conceptual. We went emotional. I think we covered the scope of everything in that circle. It was. I'm going to hold it with me for a while.
Great. That's wonderful to hear. Divya?
Yeah, it was actually a very interesting session, because most of the empathy circle sessions that I've had, I've always been teamed together with the Brookdale staff and my friends. So it's mostly stuff that we always talk about, and I never heard a different perspective to the whole thing. But today I was in a combination with Martha, Sarah, and Dan. And that was totally new for me, the whole experience, and it was really enjoyable, actually. Thank you for mixing me up with that.
Great, great. Thank you, Divya. Marta.
Yeah, it was quite a journey. um, and I think that's brilliant. The empathy circles bring together people that have very different perspectives. That's one of the many values of them. And we get to go places that we hadn't planned to go to begin with. And that's really nice. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Marta. Aoife.
Yeah, our group was very like that too. Just there's a lot in it. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Yeah, which is really strange, but it's more because people have been listening to me a lot, and I do find that in my work a lot of people are listening to me because I'm the only one talking. But then in my personal life, there's a lot of people I meet don't listen to me. So it's a very different feeling, you know, in my body of like, wow, people were actually really listening to me. Yeah, I can feel a shift in myself energetically in that. And yeah, really grateful for this process. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you for coming, Aoife. Edwin.
Yeah, what comes up for me is kind of sort of moved into lower part of my body, like a real sense of warmth. And I think our circle had that today. So kind of came into a sense of community, sense of warmth, and kind of going between sort of the conceptual ideas and then kind of moving into that kind of warm, spacious community feeling. Felt very nice. And also there was a lot of appreciation for that. I was hearing a lot of gratitude and appreciation, which kind of deepened it as well. Yeah.
Great. Carolina?
I'm very happy that we managed to include Stephen to our talk. We had a very successful open call yesterday. We didn't manage. And it was kind of circle. I couldn't speak because of some technical issues. I have to deal with it. Stephen couldn't talk, and today we managed, and I'm very happy with that. I just want to say that I'm happy with that.
Thank you, Carolina. Bob.
What a privilege to be in this family with my brother Stephen, my brother Ben, my sister Carol. I have great hope for the planet if we can build on this family love and share it and bring everybody into it. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob. Stephen. You're muted, Stephen. Can I help you? There we go. Yes, go ahead.
Actually, it's been very great for me to meet up with almost a group of professors. I have enjoyed it. I've learned a lot from them, and truly, it was great for me to connect with everyone, you here and my group. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for coming. Sarah.
It was a real privilege to connect with everyone in the group and hear their wisdom. It was so many aha moments, and yes, we did connect to kind of a universal collective archetypal level, as well as a personal level, as well as a political and activist level, as well as the personal level. And I am so grateful to have witnessed people's journeys and connection within themselves and connection to the world.
Thank you, Sarah. Ben.
Yeah, really good chat. Really fulfilling, rewarding, interesting, stimulating, and yeah, really enjoyable and interesting to connect with everybody.
Great. Thank you, Ben. I just want to reflect, many people said it, it was really touching and profound to just experience other people, their lives, their struggles, their triumphs, and it makes me feel better about both myself and then our possibilities as a species and a culture. Just wanted to go through and just let you know that there's a facilitators group happening in about a half an hour. And that's different from the empathy circle. That's 15 minutes of different people who are trying to put together empathy circles to share your struggles, triumphs, whatever you need. And you get 15 minutes just to, share your experience and get any kind of feedback that you want, whether it be reflection like in the empathy circle or not. Tomorrow we have an empathy circle at the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, about the XR principles for those who are familiar with the Extinction Rebellion. And that's been very stimulating. Also, we're very excited. We put together, we have various facilitation trainings. Some of the people are doing it already. And so if you're interested in becoming a facilitator, we have a training available for you. So please, in that document, please indicate if you're interested, and then we'll get in touch with you and we'll chat you up. Okay. And Edwin, is there any final parting thoughts or anything?
No, that's just a gratitude for your facilitation. Thanks for that. I feel great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, letting you do the driving.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. That might get you in trouble, but we'll see. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Hope to see you in future circles.
Thank you, everyone.